Gen Z took to the streets to strike against the motion of today that states overtaxation is the main reason for financial distress amongst Kenyans. Proposing and opposing this motion is Nyabohanse Girls High School versus Kanga School. First speaker, Team Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Overtaxation is the main reason for financial distress. Let's break this for a moment. What are tax? Now, tax is money paid to the government to cater for public services in a demonstrative country. What is overtaxation? It's the process of making citizens of a particular country pay tax or pay more tax than they are intended to pay. What is financial distress? These are the problems that citizens or people go through due to lack of enough money to cater for their needs. Taxation was brought in Kenya by the Arabs who came to the Kenyan coast in 1498. Then Winston Churchill once said, "There is no such thing as good tax." We contend that for a nation to try to tax itself to prosperity is like a man who stands in a bucket and tries to lift himself with the handle. Is that possible? No. Proposing this motion is Ashley Laura Nyabohanse Girls. Here is my point. Overtaxation leads to decreased incentives. What do I mean by this? Incentives are the money that people remain with after they have paid their tax. People earn income and pay tax. They remain with something in their pocket. These incentives that they remain with are expected to cater for all their needs. They have fees to pay, they have bills to pay, they have other basic needs to provide for their families and also for themselves. If the government overtaxes these citizens, it will decrease their incentives in that some of their budgets will have to be cut down. If they used to pay a bill maybe of 10,000 and they are overtaxed, meaning that their incentives are decreased, it means that they won't be able to achieve this 10,000 of paying their bills. And it leads to a situation whereby citizens become, or the country comes to be socially at unrest. It leads to strikes and demonstrations. Previously, I've been watching the Gen Zs on the road striking. Why? This is because they were overtaxed by the government, or rather, the government tried to overtax them. The government wanted to raise the price of the sanitary towels, just to give an example. Try to imagine if that law had not been passed and they were that severe, the strikes were that bad, people were dying, properties were being destroyed. What if the law was passed? What if the government just decided to overtax them? Many lives would have been lost because the Gen Zs or the youth rather are not comfortable with the overtaxation, or they're not comfortable if they are being overtaxed. So that is why I say that and strongly propose this motion that says overtaxation is the main reason for financial distress. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Overtaxation. Overtaxation. Is it really the main reason for financial distress among Kenyans? Samuel Musyoka ready to oppose the motion that states overtaxation is the main reason for financial distress among Kenyans. Overtaxation is the state where a nation charges its citizens more than the intended tax or collects more than the intended revenue for development. Financial distress is a situation where one is unable to come for his needs due to lack of enough resources, and I mean financial resources. The main cause for financial distress in Kenya is not overtaxation. There are many other causes, and the first one which I might mention is corruption. Corruption is like a ball of snow. Once it's set rolling, it must increase. These are the words of Charles Caleb Colton. Kenya can be described as a circus full of corruption. Corruption has become the new normal among our nation. For example, how many live cases are there in our courts on corruption? As these cases remain there, families are rendered hopeless and jobless, without hope. Still, on corruption, we find that I was on the social media just the other day and I was shocked to see a politician bragging of the kind of expenditure on his clothing. He had a tie costing 10,000 Kenyan shillings and a belt at 100,000 Kenyan shillings. I was surprised. This politician has just been employed the other day. He is earning less than $1 million per month. Where did he get such kind of money to purchase such clothing? I also was watching the news and I heard of another who was spotted with over 20 million Kenyan shillings at an Arambe, an MP, just earning a minimal amount, average 800,000 Kenyan shillings. Where do they get this money? This is the money meant for road development. This is the money meant to promote the education sector, but they waste it through corruption, which leads to financial distress as per the funds do not reach the intended persons. My fellow Kenyans, it is time we speak. Remember, you not only be judged for what you say and do, but also for what you do not say and do. Thank you.
The value of life is not measured by duration, but through photography and spoken words. Everything starts from the roots to the apex, said by Nelson Mandela. Sharon Awino from the Nyabohanse School, the school of choice, strongly proposing this motion. Overtaxation is the main reason for financial distress. To my fellow handsome opponent over here, I would like to correct you. Corruption, corruption, corruption. That's what leading to financial distress. With this financial distress, we have to corrupt to get jobs so that we have money. Corruption. You are talking about a politician. We have savings. I can save. You can save. And please, may we stick to the motion and say why overtaxation is not the main reason. I need a very strong point why it can't be. Yet my parent outside there is financially distressed. How will I go to school? My siblings, how will they go to campus? And my first point is, overtaxation eradicates businesses. That business lady outside there, my mother, for example, Mama Mboga, selling kales out there. If she has been overtaxed, the kales are at about 100 buying price. What will she sell? How can she manage her family? She won't manage it. Now let's try to understand. Put yourself in that shoe. She won't manage. Her business will keep dying. And this overtaxation takes away her income, taking away our businesses. My second point, poverty. Breaking it hinders economic growth. Why do we overtax? Yet we know Kenya, we are not even among the 100 top richest countries in the world. We are not. Let us not lie to ourselves. Let's talk about reality. Are we? We are not. because of this poverty. We overtax, yet we are poor. I am from a humble background family. Why do you want to overtax me? And by Churchill, a good tax is the better one. And do not overtax, for we are not rich, we are poor. And let's go to the remedies. I rest my case.
I would like to appreciate my fellows from the proposing side. You've actually vehemently supported us and echoed again our first point, corruption. Otherwise, I'm not here to argue, but just to improve the argument from our side. And by saying this, in Kenya, financial distress amongst citizens cannot solely attribute to corruption. This drives me into my first point, education mismatch. Education mismatch refers to the acquired skill through education and the demand by those jobs. Now, example in Kenya, despite the government's effort in introducing initiatives like Ajira Digital Program, still Kenyans came out rioting and petitioning the initiative. Why? They were saying the initiative was brought in place, but our children were not employed. And this forced them to go and interview the officials. Guys, these are the exact words from the officials, that the graduates didn't merit the opportunities and they didn't deserve to work in our initiatives. What does that mean? That means that education mismatch purely contribute to the financial distress. Why blame overtaxation? I'm going to my second point, poor leadership. My friends, poor leadership involves misallocation of public funds due to corruption and insufficient government practices. This is an example where the scandal involving the misappropriation of funds that was to create and was used to construct the Aror and the Kimwarer Dam. It is a clear example of how corruption drains the public resources. Now, I want us to reason together. If the dam was constructed, of course, it was not constructed by robots. It was to be constructed by youths. They were not to work for free. They were to be paid. That promotes financial stability. Secondly, the dam, the main purpose and the foremost priority for the construction of the dam was that it act as a water reservoir. Guys, let me just take you through some of the importance of water. Water is used for bathing, is used for washing, used for drinking, and not forgetting about irrigation. Let me measure my points on irrigation. Irrigation, when water is used in irrigation, it actually acts as a upward tapestry towards the production and high yields in agricultural sector. This will promote higher production, which will again be sold by business women and businessmen in the market, promoting financial stability. But all this was in vain. Why? Because of poor leadership. Now, my guys, it's high time we come and join hands together and support and actually oppose the draconian motion over high taxation. And as the saying goes in Kiswahili, ibilisi wa mtu ni mtu. The enemy of a man is a man on his own. So let us come together and not blame over taxation. Let us blame ourselves. Thank you. Case closed.
I'll quote the word of the Climax Company. They said, respect the key to prosperity. We cannot overtax people because corruption is the main financial distress in Kenya. No, we can't do that. As Sen Bani said, that our nation cannot survive morally or economically when so few have so much, while so many have so little. To the first opposer, I have a question. What is the other financial distress? Because you can't talk about corruption. My second question is, what can we do without money if corruption is the main financial distress? I can say that we are overtaxing Kenyans, and this is leading to starvation. which is leading to poverty. This poverty is leading to starvation. It is leading to the death of people. And you cannot say that corruption will lead to the death of people. In the country. I can say that corruption is not the main financial distress. Why? We can practice corruption through examination. We can pay the teachers to steal exams. That's corruption. Another school is doing with their brains. That's corruption. You can't say that it's a financial distress. Another quote from Nicholas Carey, he said, when our brains are overtaxed, we find distraction and more distracting. What are sending the Generation Z to the streets? It's overtaxing. The government wanted to overtax, for example, sanitary towels, the sugar, the fuel, every commodity is going up. So you can see that corruption is the main financial distress. To the second opposer, I want to tell you that you have to raise your words, not your voice, because it is the rain that grows the flowers and not the thunder. Yes, overtaxation can bring development to the country. It can bring development to the country. But Ben Carson once said that we must think big and be honest. It will bring development to the country. Let's think big and be honest. Most of the people are going to die because of this overtaxation. The poverty in the country, we're not having money to feed our families. So it will lead to starvation and we'll die because of overtaxation. I would just like to say that we should have the solution to overtaxation. Let's cut the cost, restructure the debts and credits, and let's have credit counseling as Kenyans. So the question is, what side are you in? Overtaxation is the financial distress to Kenya, or it is not. Let's join hands together as we say that overtaxation is the main problem is the main financial problem. Thank you.
Well, overtaxation, is it really the main reason for financial distress amongst Kenyans? No, it is not. I want to say that under overtaxation, we have quoted a lot of challenges that are facing people leading to a financial distress in Kenya. Number one is on unemployment. Recently, or the previous regime we had before the current president entered in office, we had an initiative that was brought in place by the term Kazi kwa Vijana. But now the initiative which was brought in place, it was Kazi kwa Vijana, but where was the money going to? Pesa was going to kwa wazee. It was Kazi kwa Vijana, pesa kwa wazee. I want to say government youth unemployment has been marred by insufficiencies and insufficient funding, failing to provide sustainable jobs amongst the youth. We have got the Kazi Mtaani. Despite efforts to engage youth in community projects, the impact remains limited, with many participants struggling to transition to permanent employment as they were withdrawn and likely to come up again. I want to echo my voice on the teachers' interns and the doctors' interns. These are challenges. Many newly graduated teachers and doctors' interns in Kenya, they face different financial distress. For instance, teachers' interns and medical interns experience significant delays in receiving their salaries, leading to financial instability regardless of tax rates. Therefore, overtaxation is not the main reason for financial distress among Kenyans. It is not. I want to say, like they have said, street protest by the Generation Z, who came out in large numbers to protest. What were they protesting? They did it on Tuesdays and Thursdays countrywide, mainly because of broader economic grievances. Not only taxation. It is not a problem. Overtaxation is not the main problem among us Kenyans. We have incompetent leaders. How are incompetent leaders a main challenge to us. They lead to financial distress amongst us. I want to give an example of the current dissolution of the cabinet, who were not able to deliver their mandate as leaders. They were not. Therefore, them not delivering their mandate, they also a challenge, leading to financial distress. People coming to the streets protesting because they cannot deliver their mandate, and therefore it led to the dissolution. I want to conclude by saying, truly, a fish rose from the head down, implying problems with an organization or a society. It's really on poor leadership. In Kenya's context, this could be applied in instances where corruption and mismanagement of public funds have persisted despite changes in taxation policies. Asanteni.
Thank you once again. Second opposer, talking of importance of water instead of why we should be overtaxed. Explain and give the poor leadership and one leader, for instance, in Africa continent, who has those poor leadership. And to narrate more, the World Bank has warned Kenya against tax increases in the coming fiscal year, saying it may end up slowing our economic growth. If the World Bank can see overtaxation will hinder our economic growth, why are we blinded? Secondly, World Bank talks about corruption. You are talking about corruption too. But they do not say that it is the main financial distress. Another thing, raise your words, not your voice, because it is rain that grows flowers and not thunder. Why raise your voice about unemployment? Yes, this financial distress to us, it is according eradicating business, it is what brings to us financial distress. Our march to freedom is irreversible. We must not allow fear to stand in our way. And overtaxation is the main financial distress. Stand with us. I rest my case.
Because you have asked me the question, that how is the importance of water dealing with overtaxation? I think you didn't get the point elaborate. I was trying to elaborate to you about poor leadership. The poor leadership caused misallocation of funds, which later caused the construction of the Kimwarer Dam and the Aror Dam not to be there. And later I explained the importance of water. And I explained that the water was to be used for irrigation for crop production, which could have been used to sell in the market, to give us income, enhancing financial stability. That case is closed. About the Gen Zs are an uncertified Kenyan who their main agenda is not only about overtaxation, but also they are tired of the government. This is quite evident. And I think all of you can support this. When the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, dropped the Finance Bill 24-25, they still maintain Ruto must go. That is not overtaxation. They were not interested. They were interested in poor leadership. Thank you.
Overtaxation is the main reason for financial distress among Kenyans. That is a motion that actually reflects what is currently going on, and I expected more energy. I think it was said we are the Gen Zs, so we are actually supposed to be into this because we are one of the people who are actually against or propagating for financial liberation. I would like to quickly look at the individuals. Ashley, you began by telling us that taxation actually was brought by the Arabs. I had expected to hear words such as maybe the biblical overtaxation began with Zakayo, the biblical Zacchaeus. It is not something that came later. It is something that has been there for a while. And I like the way you described the terms. Sharon, you tried to rebut, but I wish you could have given quite concrete evidence on maybe what they should say on corruption. Otherwise, you actually ended up backing them up. And the opposition, I wish when you talked of corruption, that is by Samuel, I wish you could have also given us evidence so that we could tell us about the scandals that we have had, from the fertilizer, which has been the recent, edible oil, and KEMSA, the drugs, the issue about the nets. Those are things that I would have wished you tell us. Otherwise, I liked the way you presented TED, quite confident, and also liked the way you gave the points on unemployment, broader economic grievances, incompetent leaders, mismanagement, but I also wish that you could have explained. And then on Alvin, the second speaker, I wish that you'd have not taken a lot of time to give us details on poor leadership, but you could have taken that time to give us another point instead of only concentrating on poor leadership.